Tonight, the search for answers after a mass shooting inside a Manhattan office tower.
I'm standing right underneath the stairs where he's getting ready to shoot.
What we know about the victims, the gunman, and why investigators now believe he was trying to target the NFL headquarters. A new warning about famine in Gaza as the UK delivers a new ceasefire ultimatum to Israel.
The UK will recognise the state of Palestine.
And millennials, take note. Gen Z appears to be saving more for retirement.
This is a generation that's internalized some of the mistakes that other generations have made in the past.
Why they seem to be all in on investing.
From CBC News, this is The National with Asha Tomlinson.
Thanks for joining us. Adrian is away. We begin with breaking news. A massive earthquake off the coast of eastern Russia, one of the strongest ever recorded, has triggered widespread tsunami alerts in multiple countries, including here in Canada. These are the first images we're seeing of earthquake damage in Russia, a kindergarten classroom destroyed. And this is where the 8.8 magnitude quake struck just off this Russian peninsula. These are tsunami sirens sounding in the north of Japan. Officials are now urging people to evacuate coastal areas.
Everyone evacuate the beach. All lifeguards will be leaving at 5 p.m.
Hawaii is also under a tsunami warning. People there are also being told to get to higher ground. Alerts also stretch from Alaska all the way down to Chile and New Zealand. On the BC coast, these are the zones under tsunami advisories, which means strong currents are likely. The north and central coasts, the west coast of Vancouver Island, and the Juan de Fuca Strait, including Greater Victoria. Georgie Smythe is tracking the latest from Vancouver. Georgie, take us through the impact so far.
Yeah, let's start in Japan, where we're already starting to see some of the effects from that earthquake. We're hearing reports of waves being recorded in northern Hokkaido, in the northern part of the country. We're also seeing images of people sheltered in tall buildings, on the tops of buildings, and some workers at the Fukushima nuclear plant have been evacuated and moved to higher ground. Hundreds of kilometers of Japan's coastline is under an evacuation warning and tsunami alert. In Hawaii, we're hearing reports that tsunami sirens have been ringing out. In Honolulu, the Coast Guard there has ordered all boats in ports to move to deeper water to avoid any damage when that impact wave comes through. We've also heard from officials there. This is what they told us a short time ago.
Our number one priority is life safety, and so right now it's an easy thing. Get away from the beaches, get inland, and get upward.
Pay attention. This is real, and it's most serious. And if they happen to be watching, we don't have these events very often, but when we do, they're real and they're serious. So we just ask you to pay attention, do what you've been asked to do, and we're all going to hope for the best.
So in Hawaii, they're actually instructing people to stay more than a kilometre away from the shoreline just to be safe. In Russia, we're hearing reports of flooding in port towns and damages to buildings. We saw on the beginning of the introduction here, and warnings of a strong aftershock for weeks after this earthquake. Closer to home, we're hearing from communities up and down Vancouver Island tonight in and around those active tsunami zones. We've spoken to leaders in Masset and Haida Gwaii who tell us that they're ready to respond to any waves that hit. They're ready to evacuate if needed or shelter in place. And we've also spoken to leaders further south in Tofino, also ready to mobilise if the call comes down tonight. And just a reminder that these towns are quite remote. Some of them are accessible only by plane or by air, or one road in and one road out. So a very stressful night for some of those communities along BC tonight.
For sure. Georgie, thank you. Darius Madavi is also in Vancouver tonight, monitoring this very fluid situation. Walk us through when these tsunami waves may hit.
It really varies widely based on where you are. Now, tsunami waves can travel very quickly, as fast as a jet plane through the deep ocean, 800 kilometers per hour. But the Pacific Ocean is large, and so some places have already seen tsunami waves reach their coasts, whereas others, like Ecuador and Chile, couldn't feel those impacts for as much as a day, but they are still very much on the way and present. If you take a look at this map, you can see where we're expecting to potentially see some of those impacts. In red there, up around Alaska, those are places under a tsunami warning. In orange, those are tsunami advisories. And in purple, those are tsunami threats. So this isn't places where this group, the U.S. Tsunami Warning Center, issues warnings, but they are places that it is very much a potential threat. Now, let's zoom in here on where we saw that earthquake, 8.8 magnitude, putting it at one of the strongest ever recorded, number 6, if that preliminary rating does hold. And if we zoom out here to Japan, you can see estimated wave height over 3 meters for those more northeastern sections of the island. Western and southern areas are a bit more protected, so not expecting to see as high waves there. Hawaii also estimated wave height over 3 meters with an estimated arrival at 9 p.m. But I have to emphasize, initial arrival doesn't mean that's when it ends. These waves can continue for hours or even days on end and just grow in strength. Here in BC, we also have pretty small estimated waves, but I do want to also mention in California, some places expecting to see waves up to 5 feet, 1.5 meters, and that could continue for over a day.
Okay, Darius Madavi in Vancouver tonight. Thanks. We have new details about a deadly shooting rampage in New York City. The gunman leaving a note revealing possible clues as to his motivation. 4 people were killed Monday when a gunman opened fire inside a Manhattan office tower. Police say the note details grievances with the National Football League, mentioning brain trauma linked to the sport. In New York tonight, a multi-faith vigil for the victims, including a police officer and a security guard. Karen Pauls brings us the new details on how New York's deadliest mass shooting in decades unfolded.
An evening at this Manhattan office tower suddenly turned violent.
All of a sudden, I see a guy walking with an M4. I'm standing right underneath the stairs where he's getting ready to shoot. No one says a thing.
Police say the man sprayed the lobby with gunfire, killing an off-duty police officer. Then he went up to the 33rd floor and fired more rounds.
But there was a guy laying on the floor. They tried to give him CPR. He didn't get up. They put him in the ambulance.
4 people were killed, including that New York City police officer, 36-year-old Didarul Islam. He was taken out of the building on a stretcher with an American flag draped over him as officers and bystanders saluted.
Officer Islam was married with 2 young boys, and his wife is pregnant with their 3rd child.
The other victims include a security guard, an employee of the building's management company, and an investment firm executive. The gunman, identified as 27-year-old Shane Tamura, took his own life. Police say he's a Las Vegas resident with a history of mental illness. It appears he was trying to get to the NFL headquarters in that building, but he took the wrong elevator.
A suicide note found in his possession at the scene spoke to a possible motive in the shooting and may explain why he targeted NFL headquarters. In that note, Mr. Tamura claimed to be suffering from CTE, possibly from playing high school football, and he blamed the NFL.
Chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, is linked to concussions and head trauma in contact sports, believed to cause cognitive impairment and mood swings. Tamura played high school football. In his note, he asked for his brain to be studied.
We know it's present in amateur sports. We know it's present in teenagers. You know, it's possible he had CTE. He did have the exposure, but it's also possible he didn't have CTE and it was a mental health disorder unrelated to football.
The NFL does say one of its employees was critically injured. Tamura used an M4 assault rifle, similar to ones used in the U.S. military. He had a permit to carry it in Nevada, but New York State's gun control laws are more restrictive.
And Karen, there are calls in the U.S. tonight to once again look at gun control.
There are. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is suggesting anyone with serious mental health illness should be banned from carrying firearms. New York police detectives are now headed to Las Vegas to find out more about Tamura's steps before last night's shooting, the deadliest in New York City in 25 years.
Karen Pauls in Washington, thank you. And later in the hour, we'll break down a timeline of the shooter's movements and what the location revealed about his intended targets. Political pressure is mounting on Israel tonight to end the war in Gaza. The The UK now says it will recognize Palestinian statehood by September if fighting doesn't stop. As Chris Reyes shows us, it comes as global hunger experts warn famine in Gaza is no longer a threat. It's a reality.
As the desperation in Gaza deepens by the day, an ultimatum from the UK to Israel.
I can confirm the UK will recognise the State of Palestine by the United Nations General Assembly in September unless the Israeli government takes substantive steps to end the appalling situation in Gaza.
Israel fired back quickly. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the move rewards Hamas. The UK statement comes as famine unfolds in Gaza. That, according to an alert issued today by the IPC, a group that monitors hunger around the world and includes the UN's World Food Program.
What we're seeing is mounting evidence that a famine is there. All the signals are there.
The group says 1 in 3 are going without food for days. Local hospitals are reporting deaths from starvation, and malnutrition is rapidly rising. This Palestinian mother lives that reality. We're in great famine. I'm in a famine, she says. Israel has denied there's starvation in Gaza. Humanitarian groups say aid drops from the weekend and Israel's pause in fighting in some parts of Gaza are not enough. Israel says they're not to blame.
First of all, who is responsible for this tough reality? I answer, this is Hamas.
Prime Minister Starmer says the worsening situation on the ground prompted his government to act.
I want to ensure that this plays a part in changing the conditions on the ground. And making sure that that aid gets in, making sure that there is hope of a two-state solution for the future.
For humanitarian groups like the International Rescue Committee, whose workers are seeing the hunger firsthand, there's no time left to wait to get aid into Gaza.
So we will see dozens of people turning into hundreds of people, turning into thousands of people losing their lives without urgent, immediate and large-scale action.
The UK's announcement today also came with a message to Hamas calling for the release of hostages, a demand to disarm, and a commitment to play no role in the future of Gaza.
And Chris, there's some news tonight on Canada's position.
That's right. A Canadian government source is telling CBC tonight that the Canadian government is weighing its own decision on whether to recognize a Palestinian state and whether that recognition comes with conditions. Now, the source says no decision has been made, but worth noting two things, Asha. One, Canada is taking part in a 3-day conference at the UN on the two-state solution, and it's co-chaired by France, another country that has already declared its intentions to recognize statehood. And Wednesday afternoon, Prime Minister Mark Carney is expected to hold a virtual cabinet meeting, and the Middle East is on the agenda.
Chris Reyes reporting for us tonight in London. Thanks. In Montreal, a major fire has destroyed a historic downtown building, sending tenants running for their lives. As flames spread quickly through the timber frame building, first responders managed to carry out a rescue.
It took them forever to get the ladder up, and when they finally did, we came down and everything's gone, everything.
Dozens of people had to evacuate, but no one was injured. More than 100 firefighters worked to contain the flames. The building dated back to 1885 and housed small shops and restaurants, as well as apartments. And this is the wildfire near Lytton, BC, that has many people on edge. It has triggered evacuation alerts for several properties and on the Lytton First Nation. Residents have been told they should be ready to leave at a moment's notice. The fire started on Monday, and the BC Wildfire Service suspects it was human-caused. Now, both of those fires harder to fight because of extremely hot weather that's gripping large parts of the country. Ithil Musa shows us who's affected and why it can be so hazardous to your health.
These New Yorkers are enjoying Canada's capital, but they know on days like this, staying hydrated is key.
It definitely feels like it's been getting hotter, so I guess it's a little bit worrisome in general.
Temperatures reaching well into the 30s, with the humidex in parts of Ontario making it feel hotter than 40 degrees. And the heat is stretching far beyond this province. Parts of BC, Alberta, the Northwest Territories, Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia were all under warnings on Tuesday.
We've seen a lot of these heat warnings across the country, and everybody shared in them. There's nobody been left out in the cold. Out in the prairies, they had them actually in May, and they've had them also in July. So nobody is feeling that they have been cheated.
Toronto is under its 5th heat warning this year, surpassing last year's total of 4 all summer.
We're just a little bit beyond the halfway point of summer. We still have a lot of summer to go.
He says the poor air quality from one of Canada's worst wildfire seasons only makes it harder to bear. These volleyball coaches have a plan for keeping their players safe.
We have kids that range from ages like 5 to 15, and so the young kids, we make sure they have a lot of shade breaks. And we have 6 coolers behind us right here, and they're done by 12 o'clock, so we have to fill them up again in the afternoons.
Parts of southern Europe are also sweltering under extreme heat, with wildfires burning in Greece and Turkey. And in the U.S., more than 150 million people are under heat alerts, mostly in the eastern half of the country.
Extreme heat is the #1 extreme weather killer in the world. Our bodies are designed to operate only within a narrow temperature range, and when you exceed that during extreme heat, that can cause death and illness.
Extreme heat can cause pre-existing health conditions to get worse, and these 30-plus degree days could last well into the fall. Idil Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
U.S. President Donald Trump is back in Washington tonight. After striking a series of trade agreements, he could soon extend a tariff truce with China. As Peter Armstrong explains, Canadian officials are hoping they'll be able to strike a deal too.
Donald Trump is leaving Europe with a bit of a swagger, and it's not hard to see why. A series of trade agreements have emboldened the Trump administration.
Good afternoon.
His deputies extended a trade truce with China that Trump is expected to sign off on this week.
I think that the Chinese were surprised by the magnitude of the Japan deal, by the magnitude and the terms of the European deal.
That 90-day Chinese truce would ensure American access to critical rare earth minerals and could set the stage for more deals to come before the president's August 1st deadline, now just days away.
I think the trade deals are working out very well, hopefully for everybody, but for the United States, they're very, very good.
Canadian officials are hoping to reach a deal to avert new, higher tariffs on Canadian products entering the U.S. Trump is threatening to impose 35% tariffs on all Canadian goods not covered by CUSMA on August 1st. Dominic LeBlanc, the federal minister responsible for U.S. trade, and the Canadian ambassador are holding talks in Washington this week ahead of that deadline. Last week, Trump sounded pessimistic about the prospects of such a deal.
August 1st is going to come, and we will have most of our deals finished, if not all. We haven't really had a lot of luck with Canada. I think Canada could be one where they'll just pay tariffs.
Please welcome Ambassador Hoekstra.
In Winnipeg on Tuesday, the U.S. ambassador to Canada added a small dose of optimism to the mix.
Hopefully very soon we will be able to outline an agreement that is good for the United States and is also good for Canada to reframe exactly what that relationship is going to look like with Canada. It will change. But I am very optimistic. I'm passionate about the Canadian-American relationship.
But the clock is ticking here, and there's a very real concern that Trump will make good on this threat and just unilaterally hike that tariff rate on Friday.
Peter, the U.S. economy is holding up pretty well in spite of the tariffs. How does that factor into all of this?
In a couple of pretty important ways. You know, everyone said there was going to be real economic pain for both the global economy and the U.S. economy, and so far at least that hasn't emerged, right? Trump and his team have used that as evidence that they were right all along and that the experts were wrong. But we're going to be watching just a flood of economic data this week for a sense of whether that pain has been averted entirely or merely delayed.
Thanks, Peter.
You bet.
Peter Armstrong in Washington. There's new evidence tonight the big car makers are taking a financial hit from Trump's tariffs. Stellantis is the latest company to announce major losses. It manufactures several big brands, including Jeep, Dodge, and Chrysler. The automaker says tariffs have cost it nearly $500 million in the first half of the year. It's also reporting a $3.6 billion loss in that time, compared to an $8.9 billion profit over the same period last year. Young Canadians are choosing to invest as home ownership for some remains out of reach.
I can actually have some sort of say in what happens in my future.
Why Gen Zers are out investing other generations. And a dramatic joint rescue.
We're all motivated by the same mission, which is to save lives.
We're back in 2. At least 30 people are dead in Beijing after a year's worth of rain fell in just a few days. Emergency officials had to use forklifts to evacuate residents trapped by floodwaters. More than 80,000 people have been relocated. The flooding damaged roads and cut power in over 100 villages. People in BC are speaking out tonight after Ottawa promised to cut the cost of taking some ferries in eastern Canada. The move is meant to support trade between the provinces. As Lindsay Duncombe explains, ferry users and politicians want to see changes in BC, too.
Lines like this are part of living in BC. To get home to Powell River, Dennis McLean has to take 2 ferries. He makes the trip about twice a month. Even with a senior's discount, that's $100 each journey.
Shouldn't cost us anything. It's supposed to be our highway.
When McLean heard Ottawa was cutting the cost of taking several ferries in Atlantic Canada in half, it didn't go over well.
I'm fed up with this, and 90% of BC probably is.
The Premier sounds that way too.
The time has come to address that unfairness. The ask is very straightforward. We need the same per capita funding.
Now, Monday's announcement was supposed to support trade between provinces. That doesn't apply to BC. And the federal government has a constitutional mandate to connect Newfoundland and Labrador to Nova Scotia. When we asked Transport Canada if it would send more ferry money west, the answer was, when it comes to the operating costs, funding is focused on constitutionally mandated and interprovincial ferry services. Ottawa does give an annual grant to BC Ferries tied to inflation, but BC Ferries says it's not enough.
Without additional revenue, whether that comes from governments, whether that comes from other sources of revenue, we're going to have to raise fares in 2028 by at least 30%.
The way ferries are funded on the east and west coasts is different, but this latest cash from Ottawa out east has fired up some old anger here.
It shouldn't surprise 99% of Canada, but the east is getting more than the west. That's typical.
BC's Premier is expected to bring up the ferry money with the Prime Minister soon. The people we talk to in this line don't expect it will make much of a difference. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Horseshoe Bay, British Columbia.
New data shows Canadians in Gen Z are leading the way when it comes to investing.
This is a generation that's internalized some of the mistakes that other generations have made in the past.
What's driving the trend? The race to establish a new era of artificial intelligence.
Our relationship with the internet is changing.
We'll introduce you to AI agents. The National breaks down the stories shaping our world. Next. New numbers show Gen Z, the youngest generation that can invest money in Canada, is doing so more often than all other Canadians. Michelle Song with what's driving this financially savvy age group.
She's been posting videos for I think close to 5 years now.
23-year-old Arvin Farshad set up a tax-free savings account after watching influencers talk about it online.
They don't teach this type of stuff in school. They don't teach anything about TFSA or personal finances in school.
Farshad is part of Gen Z, people currently between the ages of 13 and 29. 68% of Canadian Gen Zers are investing consistently each year, at least 5% more than any other age group, according to a TD Bank survey.
They're the first generation that's really been truly immersed in social media. So for them, Accessing information is second nature. I also think that this is a generation that's internalized some of the mistakes that other generations have made in the past.
I pay zero bank fees for my...
This content creator is one of many influencers giving financial advice on social media.
It's done in a way that is easier to digest and understand, and like concepts are broken down a little bit more, and it's not this like huge overwhelming task.
Young Canadians are turning to investing in the face of skyrocketing housing prices and a tough job market. Many are living at home longer and taking advantage of easy access investment tools.
Gen Z is kind of holding out saying, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to put my liquidity and my wealth in investment accounts where I can control it. And at least I can actually have some sort of say in what happens in my future.
I said this before and I'll say it again, but building wealth is actually really simple.
With so many influencers, not all advice is good advice. But Farshad thinks he's found the right information to secure his future.
Nothing is guaranteed, even for jobs, the housing market. So if you have that money in the reserve just for you to pull out from, it's always good to have that.
Banking is no longer just about walking in. It's right here in your hand. And that convenience is making it easier than ever for people to save and invest on the go. Michelle Song, CBC News, Toronto.
Now it's time to dig deeper into the stories shaping our world. AI is changing how you browse online by doing it for you.
We have reached the beginning of the end of humans being the primary users of the internet.
AI agents are here, but do they work? But first,
our state is wounded right now.
America's most populous city rocked by its deadliest shooting in years. At least 4 killed inside a New York skyscraper.
He wasn't there looking to kill people at random.
Retracing the shooter's cross-country trip and how it all unfolded. Andrew Chang, host of About That, will break down what we know about the shooter's movements minute by minute and how he ended up on the wrong floor.
A 27-year-old drives clear across the country from Las Vegas to New York City. Takes him a couple of days. He arrives at a 44-floor office tower, goes in, ends up killing 4 people, then himself.
You're looking right now at live pictures from the ground.
All of the officers with their guns drawn.
We're hearing that there have been multiple people shot.
What happened appears to have been planned, but executed in error. I'll show you how. So the critical disclaimer here is that this mass shooting just happened. So even as New York's police commissioner was explaining to reporters how this unfolded, she began with a reminder.
The information that I'm about to provide is preliminary and subject to change.
But what I've done is to combine the accounts of the commissioner with that of the city's mayor, along with media reports. Those will become important when we get to what we're learning about the shooter himself. But let's start here. According to police, the shooter lived in Las Vegas. There are about 37 hours of highway between there and New York. He gets into his black BMW and drives through Colorado on Saturday, July 26th. He spends the weekend continuing through Nebraska and Iowa. Likely inside that car at that time was an M4 assault-style rifle, which we'll see in a moment. Police would also find a revolver, ammunition, and a backpack. The drive continues the next day through Columbia, New Jersey. The car spotted at 4:24 p.m. Monday, just hours before the shooting would take place. According to New York police, this is roughly the time and date Shane Tamura would enter city limits. He double parks his car on Park Avenue, just outside the building he is about to enter with a loaded weapon. This is a now widely circulated photograph, a surveillance image of the man believed to be Shane Tamura, armed, police say, with that M4. There is no attempt to hide his weapon here, and he's shown walking squarely across the plaza that is the building's main entrance.
This is a guy who went into that building intending to kill someone, and probably knowing he was not going to come out alive.
I mentioned this building is huge, 44 floors high. It's also in an incredibly busy part of Midtown Manhattan. Just blocks away, St. Patrick's Cathedral. And steps from there, Rockefeller Center. This is all unfolding during evening rush hour in the most populous city in America.
At 6:28 p.m., the 911 call center started receiving multiple 911 calls for an active shooter inside of 345 Park Avenue at 52nd Street in Manhattan. What happened next is under an active investigation and details are still coming in.
As the shooter approached the building, if you were to stand where he was, this is roughly what you might have seen. Wide open space leading to multiple entrances. And if you were in the lobby, you would have been lucky to be far from those doors, but it's wide open here too. You can see the main entrance doors in the distance where the shooter appeared to enter. And from his perspective, it might have looked like this. This is a virtual tour from a site that lists real estate called VTS. It shows long hallways in two directions and a security desk.
The building's security camera footage shows the shooter enter the lobby, turn right, and immediately open fire on an NYPD officer. One additional male is shot in the lobby.
That officer was technically off duty as a member of New York City Police, but working rather as building security at the time. We don't know whether he had a gun, and if he did, whether he had any time at all to shoot back, but he wouldn't survive. Neither would a woman trying to hide behind a pillar, nor a security guard who tried to take cover behind a security desk. And according to the city's mayor, the death of that guard would play an important role in what was about to happen next.
The shooter then calls the elevator, which opens in the lobby. A female exits that elevator, and he allows her to walk past him unharmed.
And this is where the story takes a major turn, because according to Mayor Eric Adams, speaking on morning TV,
he appeared to have gone to the wrong floor.
There are two different elevator banks, Adams would say. Some banks don't go to every floor. He appeared to have gone to the wrong bank, and he ended up on the floor of Lytton management. There's a reason the mayor believes the shooter was trying to get to a different part of the building, which I'll explain in a moment. But instead, he goes to the 33rd floor, where, according to media reports, the woman who had just moments earlier left that elevator unharmed was headed. What New York's mayor would add to this, speaking to MSNBC, was that the elevator at that moment could have been stopped.
They implemented so many safeguards, and even to the point that they could have stopped the elevator from moving in any direction or bringing it back to the floor.
Except the security guard capable of operating it was killed at the security desk. So the shooter moved on.
He goes up to the 33rd floor, which is Lytton management, and begins to walk the floor, firing rounds as he traveled. One person was struck and killed on that floor. He then proceeds down a hallway and shoots himself in the chest.
According to police, the shooter would die from this self-inflicted gunshot wound. All of this would have happened over the course of minutes. According to witnesses, within about a half hour of this photograph being taken, people who had been trapped inside the building with the shooter began to leave, their hands up, finally able to escape.
I want to be very clear. We believe this to be a lone shooter, and there is no longer an active threat to the public.
That's what we know about what happened. What's harder to understand is the why. Police say the shooter suffered from mental illness. A documented mental health history is how they put it, without elaborating. But CNN adds to this, citing their own inside source, that investigators found a suicide note in the shooter's back pocket. That in this note, he claimed to suffer from chronic traumatic encephalopathy. That's a brain injury from repeated hits to the head. And that he had used this note to express grievances with the National Football League.
He wasn't there looking to kill people at random. He could have done that right on the streets of Midtown Manhattan with that rifle and taken a lot more lives.
The NFL has offices on the 5th floor of the building the shooter entered. CNN also reports that the shooter used to play football competitively, and that one thing he requests in the note, "Study my brain, please." We don't know how differently this might have turned out if the shooter had found his way to those NFL offices instead of where he actually ended up. But at the time I record this, of the 4 victims killed, we know the most about the first.
A member of the New York City Police Department, Officer Islam. He served in the 47th Precinct. He was just 36 years old. And early tonight, I met with the officer's family. I told them that he was a hero.
He's the officer shot first in the lobby. According to media reports, Didarul Islam was a father of 2. His wife is pregnant with their 3rd. And in time, we are likely to learn more about the other victims. But where it comes to the shooter, his motivation, his criminal history, if any, that investigation will take longer. Because police will be interested to know not only why this happened, but also whether he could have been stopped.
As Andrew mentioned, police are still searching for a motive, and as they expand their probe, New York investigators will head to Las Vegas, where the shooter lived, to execute a search warrant and look into the guns that were recovered. The next generation of artificial intelligence could be coming soon, and the changes could be drastic.
We have reached the beginning of the end of humans being the primary users of the internet.
The potential role of AI agents in everyday life. A new wave of artificial intelligence that may alter how you use the internet.
We're moving towards an AI agent first web.
Advanced and autonomous AI is about to change even the simplest Google search, but it's not without flaws and risks. Nora Young breaks down AI agents, how they work, and the possible security implications.
It's an agent that can interact with the web and get stuff done.
I give agent access to my Gmail and my Google Calendar.
Today's big AI companies want to change the way you use the internet. Let a virtual personal assistant run your online life.
We have reached the beginning of the end of humans being the primary users of the internet.
OpenAI, the people behind ChatGPT, have just launched ChatGPT Agent.
Make a reservation on OpenTable for any night I have available.
Like ChatGPT and other chatbots you may have tried, you can use it to do research, summarize information. But it's also powered by something called agentic AI, an artificial intelligence agent. And that marks a big change in how you use the web, and maybe even the end of good old search. So how does it work, and can you trust it?
Most people are familiar with the AI chatbot, which is more reactive. Every action it takes, such as help me edit this essay, stems from the prompt that you give it. It waits for your message.
But an AI agent, says futurist Sinead Bovell, is much more proactive.
You might give it a goal, such as here are all my financial spreadsheets for the year. Please turn this into a PowerPoint deck.
So the promise is it'll be something like an all-in-one personal assistant, not just telling you barbecue restaurants in downtown Calgary, like you may have done with a chatbot or by searching Google. An agent would be able to find you a barbecue restaurant, book you a table when you have a free spot on your calendar, and send an email confirmation to your friend. Doing stuff for you on the web using its own virtual browser while you work on something else. OpenAI is taking 2 types of agents it's been working on, operator and deep research, and bringing them together in this ChatGPT agent. The thing is, OpenAI isn't the only one working on AI agents. Google is coming out with Project Mariner as part of its drive for a universal AI assistant. Perplexity launched the Comet agentic browser earlier this month. Dia is another new agentic browser, all aiming to take on routine tasks, leaving you time for more important stuff. If they work.
Everybody is trying to build them, but right now they don't actually work that well. We have individual bits of AI that are super cool. They're fun to play with, but most of them are not actually reliable.
Reliable in that you're needing them to pull together a bunch of different steps accurately. So if they're not super reliable, at least not yet, what's driving this rush to make AI agents?
Our relationship with the internet is changing, and we're moving towards an AI agent first web. So every AI company is vying to become that agent that connects you to the new digital interface of the future.
So companies are responding to where the web is going. But developing AI can also be expensive.
I hate to be cynical, but it's really about raising money. And I think all of these companies are hoping they raise the most money and vanquish their opponents. Everybody's trying to kind of bankrupt everybody else off the field. And to do that, you have to have some story about what's the amazing thing that you could do.
But here's the thing. Like chatbots you may have already used, these things can make stuff up. OpenAI is upfront about the fact that its AI agent can make errors. They acknowledged as much during their product launch.
Part of working with agent is that, well, sometimes it'll make mistakes. And that's why we felt it was important to train the model to ask you for confirmation at the last step of important steps.
So agents are not going to, say, buy you an airplane ticket without getting your explicit confirmation. But at a certain point, if you have to keep verifying stuff, isn't that just as annoying as having to keep checking a human's work?
And today we have ChatGPT Agent.
OpenAI acknowledged there are potentially more serious consequences too, like from malicious websites.
We feel like we've built a very powerful product, but again, it's important for our users to understand the risks involved.
It's a new way to use AI, but there will be a new set of attacks that come with that, and society and the technology will have to evolve and learn how we're going to mitigate things that we can't even really imagine yet.
It's not just that these tools are new. Bovell says the environment these systems function in is still uncharted territory.
If I pursue a bunch of fraudulent transactions and I get caught, there are consequences. What happens when AI agents take on those roles and there is no regulatory market for them right now? Do we have to register our AI agent? Do I have to prove that I'm a human hiring this AI agent? That right now is kind of a free-for-all, and there are no rules of the game.
One big question mark is their impact on e-commerce and the reliability of recommendations. If an agent shows me the top 3 picks for tea kettles to buy, how will I know it's not just showing me kettles that have paid to turn up in the results? So what does this mean for how you use the web? There's already evidence that web traffic is down because of AI. Why go to a website when you can just get an answer? It's potentially a threat to content creators who make money from ads. So does the web become a place where machines go to surf and not us?
So some things that we do now, we may just do a lot less of, especially things that are kind of boring and automatic. Like if I want to balance for my savings account, there's no real reason I should need to go to a website to do that. I should be able to just ask my phone, what's my savings account balance right now?
The promise of a more personalized, efficient way to accomplish everyday tasks is appealing, and frankly, just really cool. But are we ready for it?
I'm not surprised that we're here because AI agents have always been seen as the holy grail for AI companies if they can become that system that we go to do tasks on our behalf. I am perhaps a little surprised that we still haven't sorted out some of the security vulnerabilities, the privacy vulnerabilities, and the challenges with mistakes in AI systems still making stuff up, but we're still going full speed ahead with AI agents.
So some looming questions about the rules and norms that are going to govern all this stuff.
And Nora, you mentioned problems with reliability. So why are people using AI agents at this point?
Yeah, I mean, the early reviews from what I've seen have been pretty mixed in terms of overall efficacy. But the thing is, they don't have to be super reliable to still be useful. Like if you're a ChatGPT paid subscriber, you can use it against your own work, your own research, and you might find novel insights. It's just that you should check the results and avoid submitting sensitive information.
Be very careful at all times. Nora, thank you.
My pleasure, thank you.
Next, crews from Canada and the US team up to save a fisherman.
It was really just a pleasure to watch everybody work and get the job done. We're all motivated by the same mission, which is to save lives.
The rescue off the Oregon coast in our moment. You're looking at a joint rescue in progress with both the Royal Canadian Air Force and the U.S. Coast Guard rushing to save a fisherman. He was stranded a few hundred kilometers off the coast of Oregon, eventually requiring an airlift to get to safety. And tonight, that operation makes our moment.
Off he goes. It's, oh yeah, there he goes.
We got a call from our rescue center. There was a member of a Canadian fishing vessel about 300 kilometers off the Oregon coast who was in some distress and needed to come off the vessel. United States Coast Guard was launching a helicopter to hoist them off of the vessel. Anytime a helicopter goes that far offshore, they're going to want some support. In this case, they asked for our support out of Comox. We located the vessel, coordinated communications between the vessel and the U.S. Coast Guard helicopter, and then provided support for the helicopter while they conducted the rescue, escorted them back to shore.
That was a nice pickoff.
Not a whole lot was going through my mind. Whether it's a Canadian in American waters or an American in Canadian waters, we're all motivated by the same mission, which is to save lives. It was really just a pleasure to watch everybody work and get the job done.
We don't know much about the Fisherman, just that he's safe now and recovering in a U.S. hospital. Credit to the Air Force, right? And their new Kingfisher plane, which has state-of-the-art sensors, apparently, that can spot people or objects from 40 kilometers away. It is nice, though, to see that kind of teamwork across borders, as you heard it there, all to save a life. Thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to the National's YouTube channel. I'm Asha Tomlinson. Take care.